Hey everyone, this is Rock from StageInTheSky.com, and this is an essay about virginity and keeping your virginity in today's hookup culture. And I just turned 35 yesterday, so I wanted to give an update on my current situation because I already wrote an essay about this a couple of years ago called Remaining a Virgin in Today's Hookup Culture, and I got a lot of hits on that. A lot of people liked it, a lot of people were encouraged by it, but that was in 2019, so it's 2021 now. I just turned 35, still a virgin, and the funny thing about being a virgin at my age is because obviously I stay in shape and I like to think I look good. And when I tell people, first off, they're like, "You're 35?" So they're shocked by that. It's in the genes and through staying in shape and taking care of yourself so you can keep your youth. And of course I pray for that too. So I'm attracted to whoever I want to get with. But also when I tell them, and it's not like I lead the conversation with, "Hey, my name is Rock, I'm a virgin," but during conversations, I always go deep with my conversations, whoever I talk to. It usually comes out, we're talking about sex or today's, modern relationships. And I tell them, yeah, and I'm a virgin. And then you see their jaws drop and they're like, "I don't believe that. How are you a virgin?" So this essay is to explain how I remain a virgin, why I remain a virgin, and it's because of a vow, and a lot of it's a little bit embarrassment for the decision to be a virgin in the first place. It's not like I just roll out of bed and say, I'm gonna be a virgin for the rest of my life, or until I get married. There were situations and circumstances that led to it. As I was saying, I wrote this essay on August 19th. My birthday is August 18th, and so I just turned 35, making me a 35-year-old virgin. And I don't say that out of shame or embarrassment, but rather this is explained for people who look at me, hear that I'm a virgin, and they say, "Oh, I just don't believe it." Recently, I made up my mind to try online dating again. I had people get at me and, "Hey, Rocky, you should go out and really do online dating." And if you do a quick search on my website, StageInTheSky.com, you'll probably find an essay from years ago where I adamantly refused to do it, because I tried it back in 2014 and I found that it prompted a whole lot of negative effects in me, like my respect for women. It distorted my self-worth and how I viewed myself. Like if I'm approaching all these women and I don't even get so much a response back, it started to make me feel like, man, maybe I'm not good looking, maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe I'm not valuable at all. And I don't think that's the case. It could be a number of reasons why ladies weren't hitting me up or I was getting bad matches. And people were saying, "Oh, Rock, when it comes to online dating, you shouldn't take it so personal." I'm like, it's kind of hard not to. At least for me. I have pride, I have self-respect. I wish I could turn down the lever on those things and not give a shit, but I do. So and it was taking up a lot of my time and thoughts too. If you know me, I know that I'm very goal-oriented. I'm very work-driven. I like to write books. I like to work on projects to keep myself productive. And when all your thoughts are about online dating and matching with these women, and your dialogue back and forth with them, it's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I forget the curse word. I just did not like doing it. Even for me to set up my profile, I plan on doing that on Monday. This coming Monday, it's just, I really resented the idea of having to do it again, but the way the culture is, pragmatically speaking, it's my best bet, it's my best hope, or let's just put it like this, the idea of meeting someone organically, it's not likely. Even if I did find someone and I was attracted to them, like the old school ways of just walking up to them saying, "Hey, my name's Rock, what's your name?" You never know. Like this girl could say, "Oh, you're creepy," or "You're sexual harassing me." You never know. Like there's so many contradicting statements and messages from women too, saying, "Oh, I don't want to be, hit on while I'm out there." And some women say, "Hey, how come men aren't approaching me?" You never freaking know. So it's so stupid. So it's like, pragmatically, online dating is probably the best way to go. Alright, so while making up my mind to do this, go online dating, I've asked people, men and women, for their advice. And it goes without saying, I'm a very different man from the 28-year-old I used to be when I first started online dating. That's back in 2014. Now, at 35, I have a greater understanding of the culture. I have more red pill knowledge from other men's experiences. I have more red pill knowledge from other men's experiences. I'm better off financially, maturely, and more importantly, I'm a committed Christian. I've read the entire Bible from cover to cover, and I believe in it. It really transformed my life. I don't just say, "Oh, and I'm a Christian, but I'm not religious." Alright, so one thing that constantly struck me when it comes to talking to people, particularly women, when I say that I'm a virgin, their jaws drop. They're shocked and they find it hard to believe. And usually their first response isn't why I'm a virgin, it's usually how, as if I avoided getting wet while walking through a torrential downpour with no umbrella. So I'm writing this essay in the style of a hypothetical conversation. In my dating profile, I plan to be upfront about the fact that I'm a virgin who's waiting until marriage to have sex. And this is a technical strategy. Because one female friend said, well, if you say that, you're probably not going to get a lot of matches. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. I'm not looking for a hookup. And I think them knowing that up front would save us a lot of time. As I mentioned, I'm a very busy man. So, in this hypothetical conversation, I imagine sitting across the table from my date as she stares at me with skeptic gaze. And somewhere during the conversation, it won't be up front, I'm sure, it won't be the first thing we say, but she'll say something along the lines of this: I don't believe you really are a virgin. And this is what I would tell her. Alright, no, I'm going to choose to take that as a compliment. Perhaps if I explain why I'm a virgin, it might make a whole lot of sense and you'll be more willing to believe it. And when I say the whole, I don't believe you really are a virgin, when I'm addressing that, it really is because a lot of people just don't believe it. Like, they think that I'm just straight up lying, like I've had sex before. So, this to explain. Alright, so, 1, we're both Christians, right? This means not only do we believe in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, but that the Bible is a word of God. So if the Bible tells us that something is an abomination, I should too. If the Bible says that sex should be for marriage, I should too. But I get it, people make mistakes, and once upon a time, I wasn't nearly as religious as I am now. Back in 2007, I was 21 years old, and I freaking hated religion, like I hated it. I didn't even want to pick up the Bible thanks to a whole bunch of crap I had to deal with growing up. But just because I hated religion, it didn't mean I hated God. My problem wasn't with God or Jesus Christ, it was with religion and how people used it. That being said, back in 2007, I missed the memorial of Jesus Christ. Long story short, Jehovah's Witnesses, they have this tradition where every year they celebrate the death of Jesus Christ with wine and bread. It's basically communion, except they don't drink or eat the bread. And they do this at sundown on a specific day. Now, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, I want to make that clear. And even though I was fed up with religion, I have to say, celebrating the memorial of Jesus Christ's death, that's one tradition I truly respected and I felt was worthy of honor. And I missed it that year in 2007, so I just remember feeling this terrible guilt about it. And I prayed. And I didn't pray often back then, but on that day, sometime in July of 2007, I just prayed for forgiveness. And I told God, if you forgive me, I swear to remain a virgin until I get married. I know, you're laughing about that now, but if you saw me back in 2007, let's just say you wouldn't doubt that I was a virgin back then. Like, if you looked at me back then and I said, yeah, I'm a virgin, you'd be like, yep, makes sense, I see. So, if you look at this image I have on the screen right now, you'll see it kind of makes sense why I made that vow in the first place, right? Because I thought it'd be easy to keep. Like, I had no sense of foresight at all. Back then, I used to weigh 378 pounds. I had unkempt jerry curls. I used to wear this big, ugly vest because I had man boobs. And I thought I was this big, ugly monster that no one wanted. So, me remaining a virgin until I get married, I thought that'd be an easy thing to do. So, fast forward 4 years later. By working out and portion control, I was able to get down to 220 pounds. As you can imagine, being a virgin suddenly became 10 times tougher. And here's the deal. Even when I lost all that weight, I still wasn't super religious. I was like a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier. Oh, I'm a Christian, but I'm not religious. I was of that crowd. Which really means that you just don't live by Bible standards. Because in a lot of cases, people don't even know what those standards are. Like, I really didn't know what was right or what was wrong other than what I heard secondhand. And if I didn't hear anything about it secondhand, I just went with pop culture says, So when they say, oh, you shouldn't shame this, or, if it makes you happy, I was along that crowd. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Why not? I didn't know any better. I didn't read the Bible. So when I heard about this thing called the hookup culture, let's be honest, people have been having casual sex and sleeping around since, like it was nothing, since the 60s. Even before then, we all know that. But back then, I think people like before the 60s and before the sexual revolution, I think people had it on the lowdown. It wasn't so like I'm bragging about this. Like Papa was the Rolling Stone that came out. Like these guys weren't celebrated. Like we knew that they were players. We knew that they were cheaters. Casanova, Lord Byron. These were libertines, and those men were rare. It wasn't widespread as if all men were doing that. And if they were, there was usually some serious repercussions. And so when you hear women complain, if men can do it, why can't women? When they say, if men sleep around, they're called players, but if women do it, they're called whores or sluts. I honestly thought they were talking about bad men, not all men. I thought that if men can do it, why can't women? I thought they were talking about a specific type of men, the players, the cheaters. So to hear that, when I first heard about the hookup culture, to hear that most of our generation, we thought it's cool and open and they're accepting of it, and that they embrace the player slut lifestyle so much that it'd be hypocritical for anyone to even call someone else a slut or a player, I was a little shocked. Like casual sex is just about as casual as a shower these days, it seems. I could be wrong. And I know that sounds really stupid for me to not know that the hookup culture was going on, but it really shows at that age, at age 24, how much I really knew about the world. Like, it was this unkept secret that everyone else but myself knew about. I remember I was 24. I first heard about it, and it was by an older black colleague. And this guy, if you saw him, he was the complete opposite of me. He's like, suave, typical urban black man, beard, bald, basketball player. So he can get any woman he wanted. So he was basically telling me about experience, and he told me about the notion of dating around versus dating exclusively. He's like, it's okay to date around and sleep with multiple partners as long as you're upfront about the fact that you're not in an exclusive relationship with them. And I remember when he told me that, like, again, I wasn't religious at that point, but everything in my soul was screaming, dude, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Like, women are cool with this? Is that what they want? This is so effing stupid. It's ridiculous. I mean, long term, how would that play out? Again, at that age, I couldn't articulate why I had those thoughts. I just knew that was my reaction. And sadly, as I got older, more and more, I was seeing how this guy wasn't exactly wrong. Sex seemed to be at the forefront of every relationship I got into. It was like the carrot to the stick of the modern relationship, the prerequisite to marriage, the complete opposite of how I was raised. Even with the future Christian female who I was talking to, and she wasn't a virgin, she told me, yeah, having sex before marriage is important. How do you know if the guy isn't doing it for you if you only have sex after you get married? If the sex isn't fulfilling, it can ruin your marriage. And of course, I'm thinking to myself, well, that's a strong reason for everyone to wait. Because if you never have sex to begin with, then there's nothing to compare it to. But maybe I'm wrong. It's not like I know. At the age of 27, after years of dancing with different females, getting a feel for them as to whether or not they're worth committing to, one woman struck my fancy and we moved fast. I call her Alice for these essays. And she made the first move by wishing me a happy birthday, and I took it from there. Like, she's out of the blue. It was on Wednesday. Hey, Rock, happy birthday. I never talked to this girl. I've seen her in passing, but I never talked to her. So she made the first move by saying, hey, Rock, happy birthday. And from there, I just jumped all in, and we just interrogated each other. Literally, like, people say, oh, shouldn't do this. It's creepy. You shouldn't do that. No, I have no rules. When it comes to dating, I believe in being yourself. And thankfully, she appreciated that and she respected it because she was asking invasive personal questions. And that's what I wanted her to do. I wanted her to know as much about me as possible up front, and vice versa, because like I said, don't like to waste time. A lot of people like to, I don't. So like I said, she was smoking hot. I really didn't care that she was a single mother because our chemistry, it just worked. She was amazing. And even after we broke up, you'll never hear me talk bad about any of my exes, which I pride myself on. I tell people, nope, I got nothing terribly bad to say about my ex because I only date good people. And yes, that's a subtle jab at people for making bad choices. So, when people say, yeah, my ex was so terrible, it's like you're kind of telling yourself there. It sounds like you made a bad choice. Okay. But while I was dating Alice, again, this is before I picked the Bible, I was beginning to waver on that vow that I made when I was 21. My vow was to wait until marriage to have sex. That's what I told God. But with Alice, I told her, yeah, I'm waiting until I'm in love with the woman before I have sex. You see what I did there? I wasn't exactly, you could say I was lying, but you'd be only half correct. I'd be lying to God, but not to her. Because truth was at that time, like I said, after seeing the way the culture was, and it seems inevitable that you're going to have sex before getting married because of the freaking culture. I was to the point where, if I was in love with Alice, I would have sex with her, and there's a whole lot of other backstory reasons behind that because, if you have children, the love, anyways. So truth was, if I had gotten to the point where I could say without a shadow of doubt that I was in love with her, I was willing to give Alice my virginity. Rock, why are you telling me all this? Don't you think if you're upfront about everything, you're kind of ruining the magic of having me find out these things on my own? I've heard this advice before, that girls like the thrill and intrigue of peeling back the layers on their own. The thing is, and this is kind of speaks to people who get upset, oh, you're telling me too much, I want to find this. People are deep, you understand? I'm giving you but one excerpt from the entire encyclopedia that is my life. Like, I'm giving you 2 pages. It sounds like a lot, but it's only just 2 pages out of this thick, big-ass book that is my life. You're getting breadcrumbs about the kind of person I am. I'm intentionally telling you things that I want you to know about me because, like my profile suggests, as I mentioned multiple times, I don't like wasting time. I don't want you to waste your time. And no, that doesn't mean I'm in a rush to get married or get in your pants or move on to another woman. It's just, like I said, I'm very busy. I like to stay productive. I'm addicted to production, and that should work out in your favor because, you're dealing with a man who's not going to be sitting on his ass. He's going to be working for you. And if I'm going on a date with you, then you should know that, this is but a few hours of spare time and I have in a week. And I'm sacrificing all those other projects and other things I could be doing to get money to be here with you. And so far, I think it's worth it because I'm with you. Okay, go on. Tell me more, I imagine her saying. And for the record, in conversation, I'm not so detailed in real life. More likely she would have cut me off multiple times and I'd let her speak and I wouldn't continue on the topic unless she asked me to, because that would tell me that she's really interested in wanting to know. And if she didn't want to know, and because you hear people say this, oh, well, I just want you to tell me just off the top of your head. I'm like, well, you just cut me off. All right. So like I was saying, I was willing to give Alice my virginity. I had actually fallen in love with her, and I even told her that I loved her. But then things started to happen, and we ended up breaking soon after. And no, it wasn't because I told her I loved her. Trust me. That had nothing to do with it. It was mainly the issue of her daughter's behavior and the resulting arguments. So, just didn't work out. That was at the age of 27. Virginity still intact. I don't want to get too in detail too, because a lot of people, when they say, oh, well, what do you guys do together if, you can cuddle, man, you can kiss, you can make out and all of that, but when it comes to actual penetration, I don't do that. I wait till marriage. So there's a lot you can do as long as you have imagination and you're playful, because a lot of people think that, oh, you're a virgin, you can't touch them. That's not the case, okay? So, how did I go from then at 27 to 35 and still remain a virgin? I give a lot of credit to God. And I don't want to brag, but he really did bless me with a lot of strength, patience, and wisdom. A lot of stuff people say, oh, look at my cars, my house, whatever. God blessed me with these immaterial things, strength, patience, and wisdom. Why? Because I prayed for it. There were plenty of opportunities to lose my virginity. And with each encounter, it took a ridiculous amount of strength to get up and leave the situation. And like I said, I was praying for strength, patience, wisdom. This is around the age of 28 by this time. And back then, my older brothers hit me with this line. Rock, it's good that you're talking to God again, but wouldn't you like it if God talked to you? Now, like a lot of people, I'm a believer in the notion that sometimes God talks to you through other people. But what my brother was getting at was that I should start reading the Bible. But I was reluctant, I confess. I was afraid. And no, I wasn't afraid of the truth, but the pain of rehashing the angst and resentment from my upbringing and religion in general. But I did. I picked up the Bible and I started reading. It took me 2 years of reading 2 to 3 chapters every night before I was able to finish it, cover to cover. And dude, it changed my life. My eyes were open. So much was going on in the world. The whole tolerance and acceptance movements, the attempt to break down traditional roles and gender roles, everything I knew about what was right and wrong was dictated by popular opinion until I read the Bible. And when it came to my virginity, let's just say that reading the Bible strengthened my resolve to remain a virgin. Not only because the Bible explicitly says that sex should be within the confines of marriage, that's at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and not only because the Bible explicitly says that sexual immorality, fornicators, adulterers have no place in the kingdom of heaven, that's at 1 Corinthians chapter 6, but also because I learned more about God's character. I had no idea what I was doing when I made that vow and swore to God. But now that I did, and now that I know the significance of what I did, I intend to keep that vow on pain of death. Swearing and making oaths to other humans is strong enough, but to make a vow to God is definitely one word a man should keep. And 2 biblical examples gave me the greatest source of strength during this time. The first was in the book of Judges. This is a warrior judge named Jephthah. Before this huge battle that, the Israelites were going into, Jephthah made a vow to God that he sacrificed the first person that came out of his house if he won the battle. Scripture doesn't record why he made this vow, only that he did. And after he won the battle and came home, the first person out of his house was his daughter. Jephthah was horrified. He let his daughter enjoy one more moment of fun before he kept his vow and he sacrificed his daughter. And of course we can get to the argument, oh, he didn't really kill her, he just sacrificed her and gave her to God. From what I read, it looks like he killed his daughter. And it just had a significant impact on me. If I'm wrong, please point out scriptural evidence and I'll definitely reconsider it. My takeaway from this whole situation with Jephthah is that it's important to keep your vows no matter how foolish, no matter how dire the consequences is. And also, don't be so hasty to make just any vow. That's another thing. Like Jesus said, let your no be mean no, let your yes be yes. Now, at the age of 21, I already made the vow. I didn't know what I was getting myself into or how difficult it would be, thanks to Satan and his wicked society, to keep my virginity. But compared to killing your beloved daughter, I think keeping my virginity would be a lot easier. So I'm going to keep that. The second source of strength in keeping my vow is Hannah. Hannah was the mother of Samuel. This is a highly influential prophet who went on to anoint David as the future king of Israel. Hannah had a problem because she wasn't able to produce a child for her husband. She was married to a man who had 2 wives, and the other wife produce a son for this man. So this wife was always taunting Hannah and belittling her for apparently being barren. So one day when Hannah went to the temple to visit, she prayed to God, and she swore that if she produced a son, she would give him over to God. God heard her prayer and blessed her with Samuel. As much as she wanted to keep her son, she honored her vow and handed Samuel over to the priest to be raised in the temple. And, that couldn't have been easier for her. And still, even when she gave Samuel over to the temple, God rewarded her by blessing her with more children after that. Now, I'm not sure if I'll be rewarded the same way. I don't have that sense of entitlement. But what the story tells me is that God understands and has compassion. Jesus Christ said, "Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and all things will be added unto you." At Matthew 6:26, he taught that God provides for the birds of the air. We are way more precious to God than birds and any animals, so we should know that God will provide for us as well. And when it comes to, well, how come he hasn't provided for you already? You're 35 years old. It could be because I wasn't ready for it. For me to pray for a beautiful wife who endeavors to serve God like I do, why would God bless that woman with someone who's rotten and undeserving of her? And as much as I claim that I wanted a wife or a girlfriend, it could have been that God knows me and my situation better than I know myself. More than likely, he spared me from a lot of hardship, stress, and temptation until he thought that I was ready. You never know. I just put trust in him. That's the point. Job, the book of Job. Put trust in God no matter what you're going through. Trust that he knows you. Trust that he loves you. Trust that he wants what's best for you. Well, hopefully that this all explains why I'm still a virgin at 35. I'm not lying, I don't tell people to shame them, but it's important for me to keep that vow, which means I will. And of course, there's even more personal reasons why I want to wait, like the importance of providing my future children with a stable mom and dad in the house, but I'll get deeper with that later. I'll let you peel back the layers with that one. Thank you for listening.